Hello, and welcome back. We're going to continue going over fluid homeostasis in this video. We're going to talk a little bit about what happens when things go out of balance. All right. Now, I've got the two directions we can go. So when fluids go out of balance, you're either talking about having too little fluid, which can lead to dehydration, or you're talking about having too much, which is going to lead to swelling and edema. All right. Primarily, the compartment that we're talking about here is the extracellular compartment, all right? Although there will be fluid that moves between the intracellular and extracellular compartments, and that can also contribute to this as well, all right? But with our extracellular fluid volumes, all right, when things are low, that's when the body may pull fluid or water out of a cell. If it's high, it's going to go into a cell, or more commonly where things are going to go, it goes into tissues like the areolar connective tissue, is great at absorbing extra fluids if they're around. Okay? So how does this happen? How do things get out of balance? All right? Well, the one obvious one can be related to intake from the individual. All right? Either the person has drank too much water or they aren't drinking enough. All right? So intake can be part of this process of fluid balance within the body and fluid homeostasis. You can also have abnormal fluid loss from the body, all right? So primarily where we're talking about abnormal fluid loss is going to be associated with the digestive system, all right? Either through vomiting, or if we go to the other end with diarrhea. Both of those, all right, with diarrhea, the feces is liquid because it's not spending enough time in the large intestine to pull the water back out, okay? So the body isn't recovering that, all right? Vomiting, same thing. Whatever fluids are taken in or fluids that are in the stomach will be lost that way. Another way that this can happen is through blood loss, okay? So we're not talking about your average everyday scrapes. We're talking more large volume hemorrhaging here. Can also disrupt fluid balance. And I will also add in here another one. I'm going to put it up here because I ran out of room at the bottom here. But something that we'll cover later in the semester, where fluid balance is really going to be critical to patient and patient recovery, are going to be burns. Because your skin helps keep fluids in, all right? It acts as a barrier keeping everything in. When an individual has a certain percentage of their body burned, they're susceptible to losing more fluids because now they don't have that skin keeping things in. But that'll be another section, but I do want to point that out because that's going to tie in later to topics we're going to cover, all right? So with our fluid homeostasis, all right, the other component to this, all right, I've got water here. Because really when we're talking about fluids in the human body, that's what we're talking about, okay? So the water itself is one area where homeostasis can be out of balance, but electrolytes are another, okay? So electrolytes are going to be the solutes associated with the body. We're going to cover a number of these in this course. We're going to focus primarily on sodium, potassium, calcium, and magnesium as the solutes or ions that can go out of balance and affect things. And really, the big one that we're going to cover is sodium. because with water, water is going to follow sodium in the body, okay? So when you have water moving, all right, it's a lot of times in response to sodium that's moving across membranes, all right? So if sodium goes in and out of cells, you'll get water also, okay? So when these electrolytes get out of balance, this can cause disruptions in how the body functions, all right? So disturbing fluid balance can be very detrimental, all right? I'm going to kind of start with this to concentrate mostly on fluid deficit, okay? So we're talking about lack of water, all right? And some of the key manifestations of having a lack of water. Sudden weight loss, all right? Hypotension, all right, low blood pressure, and that tends to be something that is related to your posture. So when individuals go from sitting to standing, that's when the blood pressure drops. That can be due to a lack of water, okay? You've got flat neck veins. All right, along with this standing, you can have dizziness. Let's see if you can see this. Dry mouth is another manifestation that goes along with it. And then another area that can be useful clinically is looking at the tongue. Because individuals who are dehydrated will have some furrows or lines in the tongue that you can see, all right? Another way that you can determine dehydration with an individual, right? You can do a test with your skin. When you pull your skin up, if you're well hydrated, that skin should go back down quickly. But if the skin stays tented or stays up, that's because there's not enough fluid in like the areolar connective tissue to bring everything back to normal. So that can be a good way to test for dehydration as well, okay? So with fluid deficit, with dehydration, all right, primarily the electrolyte that's out of balance here is going to be sodium. And the next video I have will go into this a little bit more detail, okay? With the electrolytes, there can either be too much, all right? If there's too much of something, you're going to see hyper. If there's too little, it's going to be hypo, okay? As far as that goes. All right, so I'm going to kind of sum up there with fluid homeostasis. Next video, we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the electrolytes and what it means for those electrolytes to either be too high or too low. If you have questions, please let me know.